All right, hello everybody. How are we doing? It is another Monday afternoon, and we are back with a close reading of the New Testament. We are on session 24 already now, and I'm pretty excited for the passage we're going to be getting into today. We are talking about starting chapter 7, so we're wrapping up the Sermon on the Mount, and today we're going to be talking about some of my favorite passages, ones that get brought up a lot, and those are the passages about, do not judge so that you won't be judged, and then keep asking and it will be given to you, keep searching and you will find, keep knocking and the door will be opened, right? So some pretty well-known passages, which always excites me because I enjoy talking about these I don't want to keep saying passages, these sections of scripture that get brought up a lot. I always enjoy looking at them with kind of fresh new eyes and seeing what else we can take away from them, besides perhaps what you would normally hear. Alright, yes, hello everybody. Well, let's go ahead and get started. So yeah, wait. I just realized my slide still says chapter 6. That's my bad. This is chapter 7. I will fix that for next week, sorry. So yes, beginning chapter 7. This is verses 1 through 6 of chapter 7. Do not be judged so that you won't be judged. For with the judgment you use you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but don't notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and look, there's a log in your eye? Hypocrite, first take the log out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they will trample them with their feet, turn and tear you to pieces. Okay. Alright. So, kind of a little bit of a longer passage. What do we kind of see here? Anything that instantly jumps out at us? Last week we were wrapping up chapter 6, and we were talking about, it was the passages on how the Father takes care of even the grasses and the sparrows, and so we can have faith in Him, put our trust in Him, and not have to worry about our future and tomorrow and worldly things. So then there's sort of a sudden transition, and yet it's not really a transition at all, because this whole sermon has really been about the Pharisees to a degree. But more than that, it's really been about, hypocrisy. This is a sermon targeted at people who want to do what's right and think they're following God's will, but are falling into these certain traps that are holding them back, right? That's kind of what this whole passage has been. This whole Sermon on the Mount has been about. And this is, kind of following up those ideas. We already read about, when you pray, do it in secret. Your prayer isn't about an outward show and building you up. It's about talking to God in secret. And same with fasting, same with serving, same with giving, right? We already covered all of those things. And now we're kind of getting to that same thing, but this time we're talking about judging, right? Or if not judging, then correcting or trying to help other people, if that makes sense. So, do not judge so that you won't be judged. Some interesting... There's a few interesting things to talk about with that first sentence. Firstly, I think a lot of us, some people will say, isn't part of our job as Christians to, hold each other accountable, to point out the sin in the world and in our fellow brothers and sisters, and to help people see their errors and turn around. Yes, that would be correct. So then how do we not judge? I think there's a difference between correcting someone and judging someone. When you judge someone, you are not saying you are doing this thing wrong. You're saying, when you judge someone, you are I mean, in the end, what you're really doing is saying that they're worthy of punishment in some way or another. So, I think, let's put it like pause in that part. Let's kind of keep talking about the rest of this, and then we'll come back to that, so that you won't be judged. A lot of the time, something that can happen to just people in general is that we are very hypocritical. We are critical of others, and we then hate when people show that same kind of scrutiny to us. This is something that happens, this is just kind of part of human culture, unfortunately, is that we are very good at nitpicking things about other people, and so we hate when people kind of show that same sort of judgment to us. There are, I think, 2 layers to this, so you won't be judged. For with the judgment you use, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. What the question is, are we talking about heavenly judgment or earthly judgment? Yeah, to judge is more like to give a punishment. Yes, I agree. I think judging is like... you know what? This is a good opportunity. No. We'll pause there. The question I had just asked. When it says, do not judge so that you won't be judged. You won't be judged how? By whom? So that you won't be judged, don't judge so that people on earth won't judge you, for with the judgment you use against other people, they're going to be that critical to you as well. Or is it, do not judge others so that your Father in heaven won't judge you for judging others, basically? I don't know which of the 2 it is, to be totally honest. I think... Okay. Yeah, the Greek doesn't really clarify. What would be... Okay. You know what? We're going to go back to the beginning, now that I have time to think about it. This has been a very scattered beginning. But going back to the beginning of this whole passage. Do not be judged so that you won't be judged. What is the difference between correcting someone and judging someone? Why are we not supposed to judge people? I think you said it correctly. Because to judge someone is giving the ruling, while correcting someone is helping them before they receive punishment. The difference is in when you judge someone, you are telling them, you are the one who is trying to enact judgment. When you correct someone, you're trying to stop them before they must receive punishment. I think that is a very good way to put it. And I think it paints the difference very starkly. I think this whole passage, what it's really talking about is that sometimes we can judge or punish other people partly to help us feel better or to help us seem better. I'm thinking, especially in this historical context, what could Jesus be talking about to a degree? Well, think about it. The Jewish leaders, the Sanhedrin, we know that they would judge people. Like, we know that they would, hold people to trials or kick them out of the Sanhedrin, out of the church, or banish them, or what's the other word I'm looking for? Exorcise them, or they would just, taunt them, or they would put people on trial and crucify them. That's what happens with Jesus. And so, why were they doing these things? Partially because they thought that was their role, right? They thought that was how they were going to follow God and help farther his kingdom, was by forcing other people to follow the laws or have a punishment. Now, what is the error with this line of thinking? Well, there are a lot of verses that talk about, how God says, judgment is mine, or revenge is mine, right? And that we are supposed to let God be the one to punish and judge other people, and instead we should try to help them and try to keep them away from judgment. There's that verse about, when someone wrongs you, don't retaliate and instead heap burning coals on their head, right? Something along those lines. And it's talking about, instead of you being the one to judge them, right, in your anger and potentially making you sin and making you do something foolish or making you make a mistake if they don't deserve punishment, instead just walk away. And if they deserve punishment, well, we know that there is a judge, and there's a final day. They will have to speak for what they did. And in that context, going back to the other question I asked, is when he says, do not judge so that you won't be judged, does he mean don't judge other people so that other people won't judge you? Or does he mean don't judge other people so that your Father in heaven won't judge you for doing that? I think it is the latter, actually. I do think it is the latter. I think he means that in the other key clue that's leading me here is the Lord's Prayer, right? Forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors. In the same vein, right? Don't show us judgment in the same way we have not shown others judgment, more or less. Right? There's this constant theme throughout the New Testament of, if you're not willing to forgive others, then why should God forgive you? And in the same thought, if you're going to judge everyone you come across, then why should he show you mercy? I think it also is, though, this does also apply to other people. I think something that can happen is that Christians can become so judgmental of the world around them that the world around them just decides to alienate them. It just says, you guys are just nothing but judgmental and hate, and that we would rather just not even deal with you. Nothing that you say is going to be worthwhile because everything you have to say is always negative and you're always judging people. And so then they just judge Christians extremely harshly and don't take anything from them. And I think that the rest of this passage is talking about that to a degree. Let's keep reading verses 3 through 5. Why do you look at the speck in your brother's eye, but don't notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and look, there's a log in your own eye? Hypocrite, first take the log out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Okay, so it's a little convoluted there. There's a lot of I's and brothers and yours and yous and all that jazz. But what he's saying is, why don't point out someone else's evil if you have the same evil in your life, basically, or other issues of your own. You can't see clearly to help or correct or judge someone else if you haven't first helped and corrected yourself, basically. You have to first judge yourself before you can judge others. And part of that too, as Christians, we have to know we are not judging ourselves against, our standards. It's against God's standard, right? And so from the viewpoint of this is how God would judge me, then we can more clearly see, how would God judge these other people. A lot of the time, I think, people can be most critical of other people in areas that they are also struggling in or faulty in. And part of this is because they also understand, or how do I put this? Partly because I think you are attuned to that kind of behavior because it's something that you do, if that makes sense. Or that it's wrong because you've done it, and so then when you see someone else do it, you just notice it even more. So that's why you have to be careful to make sure that's why it's important to reflect on the areas you're weak in before trying to correct other people, right? And part of that is the first word of verse 5, hypocrite. The last thing you want to do is become a hypocrite or seem like a hypocrite to other people. The last thing you want is for you to try to tell someone they need to fix this or that, and then them be able to say, well, you have that exact same issue. Because if you have the same issue, why should they believe you? Or why should they try to follow your advice? Or why should they believe that God is able to fix that, or that he is active in your life and can be active in theirs, right? Moving on to verse 6, don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they will trample them with their feet, turn and tear you to pieces. So, I think this is kind of an interesting verse that sort of seems out of place, if we're going to be totally honest. I do think I think what this verse is kind of talking about, don't give what is holy to dogs, or toss your pearls before pigs, or they will trample them with their feet, turn and tear you to pieces. If someone, sometimes it's better to not judge and to just walk away, or to not try to correct, if that makes sense, I think is what this verse is kind of saying. Yes, you want to try to help people, and yes, you are supposed to preach them the gospel, and yes, you are supposed to make the gospel available to everyone, but don't dilute the message of the gospel or dilute your own spiritual well-being to try to reach people that just don't want the gospel, basically, that don't want the gospel. I think sometimes there are just a lot of people out there who are not going to listen to you. Like, they're not. Like, no matter how much arguing you do, you know how many, points you bring up, or how many times you say, you see this sin and you see how this is ruining your life, or you need to turn your life around. They're not going to listen to you. And I think there's a point when you have to notice that and accept that you can't change their mind. And I think sometimes this can become a pride thing. And I think that's kind of what this whole passage is about. Sometimes we can get prideful into thinking, oh, I see all these terrible things these people are doing, and I'm going to point these things out to them and try to help them. And the different pitfalls of that are, one, you can't be hateful and you can't be punishing people. That's not your role. Two, don't be a hypocrite. Don't make sure that you're in a good place before you try to help other people. Don't become too prideful, right? Everyone has fallen. Everyone needs help in some ways. And then 3 is accept sometimes that you cannot change someone's mind or help someone. And that the best thing you can do is walk away and pray for them, right? Because if you continue trying, all you're going to do is exhaust yourself out and get into one of the earlier 2 situations where you either begin judging them or you begin to become a hypocrite and point out things and fall short yourself. We actually see multiple examples of this sort of thing happen in the Old Testament. I had seen these beforehand. Let me pull up which ones they were. A good example, let me see. Here are some examples. Jesus, remember, he refused to talk or come before Herod. Remember, when he was put on trial and Herod asked him, whatever, he wanted him to perform, basically, Jesus refused. Because all he would be doing is tarnishing the gospel and the mission that he had by performing in that situation, right? Herod did not want to actually hear the good news. He didn't actually want to be judged or condemned. He wasn't going to actually listen. He had already made his mind up. And so there was no point in, giving something holy to the dogs in that instance. Another one is like Paul multiple times refused to argue with people who resisted the word. Like, there were a lot of times when one of the Jewish leaders would just be like, try to get into an argument with Paul, and he would basically say, it's clear your mind is made up, so I'm walking away from this argument. There's no point in making this argument, because I can't change your mind. God could change their mind, but Paul knew he couldn't, and that, nothing that he said would change it. Another aspect to this, I think, can be that last bit, or they will trample them with their feet, turn and tear you to pieces, right? Is the sheep in wolves' clothing. Yeah, everybody has a place in God's kingdom, but make sure not to give someone a place in God's kingdom who truly doesn't belong and isn't actually not doesn't belong, who isn't actually there for the right reasons and isn't actually in following God, basically. Good examples here. The group of people, the husband and wife, I don't remember their names even, who when the church community asked for, they were basically taking donations to help the people who were poorer, and people were, selling their land and giving everything they had to community and to the poor. And this couple sells their land and then keeps a portion, gives the rest to the disciples, and says, oh, this is everything we had, and we gave it all to the church. And then Peter, condemns them because they lied. And they were trying to give for the wrong reasons, because what they really wanted was glory from other people and other people's praise, but not God's. And so they actually both died. Another example would be like Simon, when Simon was like this magician. The disciples come through, they're doing all this miraculous work. Simon joins, and then he tries to take a position of importance in the church, and he says, give me this Holy Spirit that I can also heal these other people. And he tries to offer them money, and the disciples say, no, that's not the reason we're doing this. Don't think you can gain a place in the church or gain the power of the Holy Spirit through just money or material things, right? It's not about that. There are a lot of instances of people, even early on in the church's history, who come into the church and are allowed to kind of run wild in the church, would be the best way I can say it. Like, they're given positions of importance, and then they're allowed to speak, and they're allowed to talk, and they're allowed to poison the church from the inside out. And I think Paul one time is like, you need to take those people out of the church. Like, they shouldn't be in the body. Yes, everyone can join the church, but not everyone should be in the church, if that makes sense. Like, they can make that decision to join, but if they're not actually going to be there for the right reasons, then they're just going to sabotage the church. That's basically the best way I can put this. I think that's all I can think of for these passages. Do we have anything else any of you guys are kind of seeing? I think that kind of makes sense in my head. Alright, I think let's go ahead and move on to the next section, verses 7 through 12. So this is directly after that, so that's something to keep in mind, is that this all flows together. Keep asking, and it will be given to you. Keep searching, and you will find. Keep knocking, and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and the one who searches finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. What man among you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a snake? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them. This is the law and the prophets. Okay, so there is a lot going on in these passages. These are very important passages, and also ones that I think get misused or misunderstood very often. Sorry, just 1 second. I wanted to read something. Okay, yeah. Why is this suddenly what Jesus transitions to? He seems to have kind of jumped around. Sorry if I just bumped my mic. Twice now, back to back, right? Like we were talking about judging, and then all of a sudden it was, don't give the message to the snakes. I do think that all connected, by the way, right? Like, on the one hand, we shouldn't be judging other people, right? And we need to make sure that we're clean on the inside. But on the other hand, we also need to make sure that we're not polluting the gospel and the church by letting unclean people run havoc and by letting sin become, which is part of the church life, right? And that applies to you too, like if don't be the dog in the church kind of thing. So then why do we suddenly, pivot to what seems to be talking about prayer? Let's go back to the previous passage real quick. Okay. So keep asking and it will be given to you. Keep searching and you will find. Keep knocking and the door will be opened to you. So what is this passage kind of talking about? Anybody have any thoughts, kind of on these first 3 verses mainly? Anything that we really stick out? What kind of sticks out to me is that how does verse 12 connect with this? Let's read verses 11 and 12. If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them. This is the law and the prophets. Why is that a therefore? So let's start right here. Why does verse 12 begin with a therefore? How is that at all connected? Let's read that again. If you then who are evil know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them. This is the law and the prophets. Interesting. So, sorry guys, I'm kind of processing things here, trying to Okay, I think verse 12 is connecting back to the previous passage. Rather than judging other people, you should be doing things to help other people and to help bring them up and to help them have a better life, the same way you would want someone to do for you. Why then are we suddenly talking about like prayer? I think what these passages are really talking about is praying for I think these passages are talking about specific kinds of asking, searching, and knocking, if that makes sense. And I'll go over real quick what I think each of those are. I think knocking is the easiest. Keep knocking and the door will be open to you. This is like a phrase that's used in the Bible sometimes. And it's, a door will be open to you, as in God will open a opportunity, right? Keep knocking and eventually the door will be opened. Keep trying to help other I don't know, guys. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place tonight. What to do verses 12 and the previous passage about not judging do you need to keep asking for? That's the best way I can put it. What is it that you need to keep asking for? Maybe it's wisdom or patience. Maybe it's God's mercy, right? Because you know that you have sinned and that you have fallen short. Ask for those things and it will be given to you so that you can do for others what you want them to do for you. Keep searching. What are we searching for as Christians? What are we searching for? What are we seeking is another translation that is sometimes used. One of the things that we're always seeking is to follow God's will, right? To bring his will to fruition on earth. What else are we seeking? We're seeking his approval, perhaps. We're seeking him, really, is what we're searching for. We're searching for the light, and salvation, and keep knocking and the door will be open to you. We're knocking. What are we knocking on? What are we trying to get to? Well, a lot of different things, to be honest. We're trying to open opportunities with other people. We're trying to... I think a lot of the time... What am I trying to say? I think sometimes, as Christians, we make salvation and the walk with God seem like a one-time thing, and it's not. We're always searching for God and seeking God's will and seeking God's approval and seeking his life. We're always knocking on that door. We're always looking for God to give us new opportunities. We're always asking him to help us do his will. We're always asking him for mercy or for wisdom. Asking for wisdom is something that gets brought up multiple times in the Bible. One is James, right? When, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God. Another one is King Solomon, right? King Solomon knows. What was Solomon lacking in? He was lacking the wisdom to judge people and to guide people and to correct people. And so he asked for wisdom. In the same vein, if we want to be able to help others, we first have to ask God to help us and to give us mercy and to give us wisdom. If we want to be able to do for others what we want them to do for us, we need God's help with that. Right? We're not good enough on our own. Only God could be so perfect and to love you so well as to never do something to hurt us. And so for us to do that kind of thing, for us to love someone in that way and to work towards someone's benefit in that way, we need all the help we can get from God, right? And so verse 8, for everyone who asks receives, and the one who searches finds, and to the one who knocks the door will be opened. That's a great verse, If you're asking God for help, if you're asking God for mercy, he will show you mercy. If you're asking God for wisdom, he will give you wisdom. If you're asking God for healing, he will bring you healing. If you're seeking or searching for his will, he will show it to you. If you're seeking him, he will come near to you, right? If you're knocking, the door will be opened. And it's a lesson. We've already talked about this once before. I believe it was on the podcast about the Lord's Prayer, that if even us earthly fathers will give our sons the right gifts, and even a cruel judge will hear a lady out if she pesters him enough, how much more so will God, answer us give us what we need if we ask him. And so it's a lesson in perseverance and passion, I think, more than anything. You notice the crucial thing about all of those. It's not ask. It's not ask and it will be given to you. It's not look once and you will find. It's not knock one time. It's keep asking, keep searching, keep knocking. Always be trying to farther your life and always be trying to farther your relationship with Jesus, right? There's always the next step, the next door, the next thing, the next reward. In verse 12, therefore, whatever you want others to do for you, do also the same for them. This is the law and the prophets. Sometimes this verse, it's, the golden rule. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry. What is it? I think sometimes this verse, sorry. He says, this is the law and the prophets. Okay, what exactly does that mean? Doing for others what you want them to do for you, that's not the way you reach heaven. Okay, that's not, if you just do that one thing, then you're good. What is this saying? If you are going to do for everyone else what you would want them to do for you, what are you really doing? You're showing them, love. And the only way to be able to do something like that is to love them and have the love of God in you. And so then, this is why there can sometimes be confusion. Jesus says, the most important commandment is love the Lord your God and love others as yourself. As your neighbor? Yeah. Love your neighbors as yourself. It's the same kind of message, right? This is how, by the way, one of the main things that lets us know what love really means to Jesus, to a degree. Love is not just a feeling, and love is not wanting comfort for other people. Love is wanting them to get the best life possible. Love is wanting them to get what you want for yourself. And let me ask you, what is it that you really want for yourself? I think most of us would agree. What is it? As a Christian, what we want for ourselves more than anything else is a relationship with God and eternal life with him in heaven. So that's what you want for other people. What else do you want for yourself? You want yourself to feel fulfilled. You want to have passions and goals. You want to chase your dreams and succeed in them. You want to feel like you have a purpose. You want to have joy in your life and peace in your life. You want to enjoy the company of others and be good to other people. And so those are the sort of things that you need to be trying to help other people attain. This is the law and the prophets. What he's saying is, this one idea of doing whatever you can to not hurt but always love everyone else around you, including yourself. That one idea, that is basically what the entire law is about. That's basically what the entire law is trying to tell you. That's basically what all of the prophets are really coming down to, is they're trying to say, don't hurt other people or yourself. Love other people and love yourself. That's what all of the law and prophets are about. The law and the prophets are telling you how to actually do that. They're giving you the advice that, this is actually harmful. This is actually good. Paul talks about how the law shows us right from wrong. And without the law, sometimes we don't know. And that is the reason why it is the law that condemns us to a degree. But, what the law and the prophets are all trying to help us do and explain is this verse number 12. The important thing to remember, though, is that the law and the prophets, that's not what we're under anymore. We're no longer under the law or the prophets. Instead, we are free from the law. I don't remember exactly what Paul says. Guys, I can't wait until we get to Romans. Romans is going to be amazing. We're going to have so much fun there. But we're no longer under the law. Instead, we're free from the law. And now that we're free from the law and free from sin, we have the power to actually act the law out. If that makes sense, like, no longer by failing, yeah. It's not that we don't do the law anymore. It's not that we're not supposed to still do for others what we want them to do for us. It's that that's no longer what gives us salvation. What gives us salvation is really, more than anything else, what Jesus, I think, offers is, I'm giving you a way to attain the law. You can't reach that on your own. You will never be able to do everything good for other people as you want to, but I will help you reach that and reach your life to the fullest and give you eternal life. And I will help you become more like me. And I think Paul says it best, right? Now that we're shown mercy and free, should we keep on sinning? No, that's literally the whole reason we're given mercy, is so that we don't have to sin. We're not given mercy. Sin in and of itself is sin. It's not a punishment, but sin in and of itself is the worst thing about our life, right? The whole reason we're given mercy is so that we're no longer enslaved to sin. And if you're just going to keep on sinning, then you're missing the entire point. We're kind of going on a tirade now, but anyways, yeah, that pretty much sums up verse 12 pretty well, right? Is that, doing for others as you want them to do for you is what the law and the prophets are all about. And that's what we as Christians now have an opportunity to do with our lives. I think that sums things up pretty well. So I think we will end things here. I might have been a little slow to start this passage. Sorry about that. I said my slides were wrong. This is all chapter 7, not chapter 6. But I hope you still enjoyed. I hope you guys still got something out of this. I feel like I got something out of it, but my mind was kind of all over the place today, and I needed my time to sort of process and get into things. But that'll be all for this one. We will be back next Monday. I don't think I'm gonna be busy, so I will see you guys then. thanks to everybody who does hop on or watch these or watch after the fact, because yeah, it means a lot to me because I enjoy knowing that my words are reaching other people, and I also hope it means a lot to you. So thanks, and I will see you guys next week.